In this department, you deal with petty criminals. But every now and then, you'll find someone that makes your stomach churn. Can you keep your cool and composure, even when confronted with a degenerate?
Okay, we're gonna keep this short. I'm already late for the DA. First up, Phelps, Bukowski. We got a report of a brand new Packard abandoned in an empty lot off 2nd Street between Olive and Grand. PR is one Oswald Jacobs says the vehicle was dumped in his backyard. There's a patrolman on site. Get down there and see what you can turn up. Any questions? Good, get going.
With that dismissal, Phelps and Bukowski head towards the squad car.
Better go earn our pathetic wages. Rimsky, O'Halloran. Intelligence has information on a stolen car racket.
An abandoned vehicle. We catch all the good ones, huh, Phelps?
Sounds like there's more to it than that. Nobody dumps a shiny new Packard unless they borrowed it without asking.
You don't say. You're on fire today, Einstein.
Very funny.
Come on, my intense protege. Let's go save the world.
We'll have Bukowski drive. I don't even trust myself behind the wheel in this game.
You hear about Adrian? Broad in Seattle threw him out. Wife says she's gonna take him back.
Women generally show more compassion.
What are you talking about? Adrian dumped on her. He was humping the secretary. Margaret should show some pride.
Pride comes before a fall, Bukowski. Talking from experience.
And that gives us a bit of closure from our last case. Adrian, who cheated on his timid wife, ended up not suffering many consequences for his actions. Almost makes an LA Cup wonder, what's the point?
Phelps, traffic.
I'm Officer Houlihan. Car's down the alleyway, detectives.
We got a call about an abandoned vehicle.
Yes, sir. The car has flags. Might be some kind of diplomatic vehicle?
Has anyone touched this vehicle since you arrived?
No. And that Jacobs bird over there was on station before I got here.
We'll talk with him in a moment. Give us some time to look the place over.
Sure, take your time. He's a sore-headed old son of a bitch anyway.
As always, before we talk to the witnesses, we'll explore the crime scene. The vehicle in question is a black sedan parked in the middle of this lot. We find that the boys in blue already have evidence markers set out for us, inspecting marker A by the driver's seat.
It's owned by the Argentinian embassy.
The Argentinian embassy? That's a rather conspicuous car to steal and ditch in a lot. Heading to the front of the car, we find evidence marker B. And the plate is missing. We know that embassy cars have distinctive plates. Perhaps this was taken in an attempt to prevent its identification. But if so, it's an amateur move to leave the registration certificate. As we stand up, we notice a flag on one of the headlights. But it appears that there were once two.
They must have taken the flag as a souvenir. Can't have any street value.
Why was this snapped off? For the same reason people take hood ornaments? Moving around to the opposite side of the car, we can inspect evidence marker C.
Stealing the wheels is for amateurs. A car ring would have stripped it in a warehouse.
That's a good point, Cole. And a car ring would likely not have kept a flag as a souvenir, nor would they have ditched it in a lot like this, surrounded by houses, houses with eyes that can report what they've seen to the authorities. This job screams amateur. Nearby, we find the final evidence marker, D, and it's lying next to a combination wrench.
Combination wrench. Must have used it to remove the wheel lugs.
Property of Dewey Brothers. And it's labeled Packard, a lug wrench just for Packards? This must belong to a Packard dealership. We notice that it's marked with red tape. We'll make sure to note that in our evidence book. Those are all of the clues we find in the lot. We must now talk with the witness. But as we head that way, we realize that we're in some sort of baseball diamond. Looks like the local kids play ball here. We even see a baseball bat on the ground. But it's not long before our partner encourages us to focus.
We better see what this Jacobs guy has to say. The car was dumped in his backyard, after all.
Sure. We find him on his porch.
Oswald Jacobs?
That's right.
What exactly happened here, Mr. Jacobs?
Last night, I was looking out of my window. I like to keep an eye on what's going on.
I can understand that.
You see this empty lot? Damn kids play stickball here. Always breaking my windows, always asking for their ball back.
Can we get back to the car, Mr. Jacobs?
Don't be impatient, Sonny. Anyways, last night I see this brand spanking new Packard up on bricks.
All right, you cantankerous old man. So he's an eyewitness. Perhaps he can tell us who stole the car.
Did you see who stole the Packard?
Hell yes, I did. I saw 3 goddamn Mexicans going to work on it.
Ah, right. Well, despite his coarse language, he's not giving us any signs that he's lying. He stands straight, fixes his gaze forward at Phelps. He's not twitchy, and he's not shifting his weight around any more than a person normally would. We have no reason to suspect that this man's story is a lie, but perhaps we can encourage him to elaborate further.
Can you tell us what they were doing?
Using the headlights of an old Ford so they could strip the thing. I yelled out to them, "I'll call the cops." So they loaded up their car and drove off, tooting and hollering and yelling obscenities at me in Mexican.
You speak Spanish, sir?
No, I do not.
And he seems rather proud of that fact. We can ask him what happened next.
After the Mexicans left, you didn't go anywhere near the car?
After I scared them off? No, I didn't go anywhere near that car.
Something about that didn't sit well with Cole, and we see why as soon as we look at him. This guy looks like he's sucking on a sour lemon. Look at that face. It looks like he's rolling it around in his mouth and savoring every sour morsel. He's squinting his eyes, clearly pleased with himself, thinking that he pulled one over on these upstart young cops. We don't have any evidence that this man is lying, but the way he's holding himself causes us to doubt that he's telling us the complete truth.
You went out to the car. Once they were gone, you had to take a look for yourself.
I was curious. Ain't no law against that. So what if I took a look around that car? You can't be accusing me of nothing.
Well, that didn't seem to give us any new information. Perhaps he can tell us a bit more about the car they were using to shine light on the Packard.
Tell me about the car they were driving.
It was an old Ford. I didn't catch the license number.
And he returns to his straightforward, confident stance. We have no reason to suspect that he's lying.
You look like the kind of guy who notices details.
You're right there. The car was old, but it looked brand new. Candy apple red paint job stands out a mile.
A red Ford. That will help.
What exactly did you see them take?
They was working on the tires. That's all that was took.
Well, we know that they took more than that. They took both a flag and a license plate. But it is possible that this witness didn't see them take the flag or the license plate. We certainly don't have any evidence that he saw them take those things, so we can't accuse him of lying. However, he is holding himself rather smugly, as if he knows something that we don't, and he enjoys having that knowledge. Oh, these stupid young cops, if only they knew what I knew. Therefore, his unsubtle demeanor here gives us enough reason to doubt his story.
Right. So what did you take, Jacobs? Do you want my partner to pat you down?
I found a notebook in the glove compartment. I was going to show you. It's on the chair on my porch.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Jacobs. You can speak to Officer Thibault about signing a formal statement.
When you get the car out of the way, maybe you could come back and do something about those kids.
Well, how about we bring you an umpire's mask?
Oh, he didn't like that. Nice wit, Bukowski. Heading up to the porch, we see the book the man talked about lying on his bench. 1947 agenda, Juan Francisco Valdez. This gives us a new person of interest.
Okay, so we have the owner of the vehicle, a degenerate. I'll run John Madsen by R&I.
He was referring to the name we found on the outside of the book, Juan Francisco Valdez, as the owner of the car. John Madsen is just one of the many names that Valdez had in his book. He plans to run Madsen by R&I simply because this is the only telephone number he found in the book, and he called Valdez a degenerate as he began to read these entries. Henry Grove, nice eyelashes, Stanley Mercer, lovely speaking voice. Walter Marshall, good-natured, Ben Brown, gentle boy? Teddy Hopper full lips. Jimmy Corbett, a baseball fan. Sammy Muller needs a little coaxing. Oh. Freddie Applegarth likes cherry-flavored candy. Danny Martson, angelic features. Miguel Fabian has olive skin. Tristan Hardy, blonde locks. Larry Hall, tanned with blue eyes. Danny McMahon, tall and lean. Frankie Voss, barrel chest. Christian Pillory, delicate. We get every impression that these are not adults listed in this book, but young boys. And moving on to the next page.
Contact details on a William Dewey. This looks like business rather than pleasure.
William Dewey. Where did we hear about Dewey? Oh, wait a minute. Dewey was the name on that wrench. Dewey of Dewey Brothers car dealership. So Valdez knew whomever used the wrench to take the wheels off the car. Backing up, we can finish reading this horrifying book. Timothy Stobo, slim hips. Jean Beaulieu, dark good looks. Kenneth Vaughan, particularly shy. Jeremy Odell, he likes gifts. Jacob Holliger, very innocent. Willie Gable, very pale. And then after the note on William Dewey, he has one final young man listed here. Gabriel. Angelic features, but feisty.
I think we've wrung this place dry. Let's find a Gamewell.
Gamewell is a brand name of a device in a box installed on street corners used by the general public to call in a fire and later to call the police. Named after John Gamewell, his company, the Gamewell Fire Alarm Telegraph Company, had 95% of market share of the devices by 1910, and they remained a common sight in much of America until the wider availability of the telephone.
Phelps, badge 1247.
How could I help, Detective?
Could you run the name Dewey Brothers? Possibly a dealership or car mechanics workshop.
One moment. Dewey Brothers Packard Dealership, 629 Figueroa Street.
Got it. Can you put me through to Michigan 2458, please?
Connecting you now.
Hello, can I help you?
LAPD, ma'am. Can I speak to John Madsen, please?
He's at school, officer. What's this about? Is he in trouble?
How old is your boy, ma'am?
Just turned 16.
Wrong person, Mrs. Madsen. Sorry to disturb you. Are there any messages for me?
There's just one message for you, Detective. A four-door Packard, diplomatic license number Paul Robert 706, was reported missing this morning by Juan Francisco Valdez.
Could you have him brought in?
He's already here at Central, Detective. He's demanding an audience, as he calls it.
Thanks. Can you get a message to Captain Leary? Tell him we'll be in as soon as we can. Thanks. Can you cordon off this lot until we have the vehicle impounded?
Yes, sir, Detective.
We'll follow up on the owner. Get a statement from Jacobs, and I'll read your report back at the station.
We can visit the Packard dealership or head back to Central and interview this Valdez character. Your call.
Oh, so this Valdez was preying on young boys. And thankfully, he's waiting for us at the police station. Even though he is the victim of this theft, perhaps we can use our knowledge of his other activities to get some info out of him that will help us solve this case.
This has got to be the 50th abandoned vehicle call we have caught this year. One more, and I'm going to go crazy.
Not your favorite cases?
You kidding me? This is barely even police work. Of all the bad guys in this city, we get lumped with the ones who can't even be bothered to keep what they steal.
Back at Central, we can check in with the watch commander.
Do we have a Juan Francisco Valdez in for questioning?
Sure do, Phelps. Your bird's an interview, too. And get this, he's wearing gloves and doing his best not to touch anything. Can you beat that?
Sounds like we don't want to keep this guy waiting. It's this way.
Later on, these police stations become labyrinths, making it difficult to find what we want. But thankfully here, interview room 2 is just around the corner.
About time. Are you the senior officer I requested?
I'm Detective Phelps, and this is Detective Bukowski.
Have you any idea how long I've been waiting to speak with you? I am needed back at the consulate, and you keep me here like a common criminal.
All right, friend. Let's take a deep breath and start all over again.
Mr. Valdez.
Consul General. I insist on my full title.
Oh yes, Consul General. We'll be all formal and respectful. For now.
Where did you purchase the car?
My secretary and driver arranged the purchase. A disreputable place, Dewey Brothers by name. As soon as I can have it arranged, I will have my Hispano Suiza brought up from Buenos Aires.
There is something wrong with his story. He claims that his secretary and driver arranged the purchase, but it would be strange then to find a handwritten note about Dewey's car dealership inside his little red book of boys. That gives us the impression that he may have had more personal involvement in acquiring the car, but this is not concrete evidence in and of itself. Additionally, he doesn't look very comfortable. He's averting his gaze, looking a bit distracted, and he has created distance between himself and Cole, sitting back in his chair, folding his hands in his lap, as if he can't trust them to not give himself away. We don't have evidence that he's lying, but he's not telling us the whole truth, and so we doubt his story.
Bought a Packard, Valdez? A snob like you doesn't drive an American car. I want answers or I'll smack you around the teeth.
William Dewey offered me a substantial bribe to make a purchase at his establishment. It is not unusual to make this kind of transaction in the civil service.
Don't tell that to the Argentine taxpayers.
So William Dewey of the car dealership bribed this guy to buy the car from him, likely paying the full price for the car using public money set aside by the Argentine government for such a purpose, but under the condition that Dewey would give a bit of that money back to Valdez here for his personal use, something we in the police force like to call fraud. But right now, we have to solve this case, so we can ask Valdez a bit more about the theft of his car.
Consul General, we have located your car. Can you tell us how it was stolen?
It must have been stolen from the consular garage. Terribly inconvenient, of course. I want the perpetrator soundly flogged.
Unfortunately, we don't do that here, Your Worship.
Again, we don't have proof that his story is a lie, but we get the impression that he's not telling us the whole truth, again based on his body language. He's no longer sitting back with his hands in his lap, but he's still fidgeting. Something is causing him to avert his gaze from Cole Phelps. He gets distracted. He looks up, almost as if he's intimidated, then he looks down, as if he gets distracted. Then he remembers where he's at, and he meets eyes with Cole, giving him a fake confident and insincere nod. This man is hiding something.
You have a pretty good idea who stole the car, don't you, Consul General? Are you going to tell me, or do I shake it out of you?
There's no call for violence. I suspect a disgruntled boy from the car dealership.
You have a name for this kid?
Gabriel, like the archangel. I have no surname.
Gabriel? We've seen that name before.
So tell us about this kid, Gabriel. You had a run-in with him?
Mecánico. A presumptuous young man who did not know his place. He presumed to ask me questions.
We do a lot of presuming here in the United States, Consul General. It comes with the turf.
This man is lying. He placed blame on a boy named Gabriel who works at the dealership, a mechanic, who dared to ask this guy a question. But we know from reading his book that Gabriel's name was one of the many names of boys listed in his book, which likely means that Valdez propositioned him. Valdez doesn't know that we know, but we can see the guilt written all over his face. He is now way more uncomfortable than he was before. He went from reclining in his chair to sitting up straight, and now he's slumped down, recoiling from Cole Phelps, almost like he's trying to hide in his seat. He looks down, squints at Cole, as if it was painful to look at the man. I don't think that we see guilt or shame on his face, but rather a desire to keep his secrets secret. Cole is a professional detective. We're going to have to deal with this situation cautiously, carefully, with dignity and delicacy.
You fuck young boys, Valdez.
Are you a madman? This will cause an international incident.
Cole has no chill. Oh, okay, straight to the point then. Forget delicacy. But we know that this guy is a liar, and we have the evidence to prove it. All we have to do is read some of the rather poetic descriptions for the young men listed in his book.
Danny, Ben, Miguel, Tristan, and Teddy. Full lips. Ring any bells?
I'm sure we can come to some arrangement.
Gabriel, spill it.
A beautiful but impertinent boy. I mentioned rendezvous and the young man went quite insane. I thought he was going to kill me. I was prepared to pay.
Wow.
We'll be in touch, Consul General.
Well, we got all of the answers that we needed from this guy, but we don't get to do the thing I really want to, and that's to bash his face in. But in America, we have a little thing called law. And even though it pains me to say it, we have to leave this guy be.
That's a guy from Finished with Valdez.
Thank God. I'll get rid of him in a couple of hours.
Well, we have a name of the likely perpetrator, Gabriel, and a motive, because this Valdez guy approached him, but we don't have an address. Our biggest clue is that Gabriel used tools from the Dewey Brothers dealership, a dealership that we know Valdez visited, giving him ample opportunity to meet Gabriel. Perhaps we can pick up his address if we head there.
Mr. Valdez moves in some peculiar circles for an international bon vivant.
English, please. See, this is why nobody invites you out for drinks.
It's just very industrious of him to be so involved in matters of consular transportation.
All right, you're making it worse now. I think what you're trying to say is that lover boy in there is as full of crap as a Christmas goose.
That as well.
Are Christmas geese typically filled with crap? Remind me not to eat a Christmas goose. Ugh. When we arrive at Dewey Brothers, a tubby little salesman in an ill-fitting suit comes out to greet us.
Don't tell me, let me guess. You were making your way past the lot, caught sight of the new model four-door, and couldn't help yourself. You could see yourself in that car and just had to take a closer look. Well, I can't say as I blame you.
LAPD, Mac. We'd like to speak with the owner.
That's me, William Dewey, proprietor, at your service.
We're investigating the theft of a Packard belonging to the Argentine embassy. Are you missing a combination wrench?
I don't know, Detective, but I know how we can find out. Follow me.
So this is William Dewey, the guy Valdez says bribed him to purchase the car from here. But before we question him, we can inspect the garage.
We keep all our tools in here.
Mind if we look around?
Be my guest.
Heading over to the wall, we see some license plates, but not the one we're looking for.
No good. We need diplomatic plates.
Near to this, we find a collection of wrenches. The wrenches are assigned to Gabriel, Paul, and Milton.
You sure you guys aren't interested in a new car? Huh? Maybe a used car. I have some nice used cars for guys in your wage bracket.
Why don't you give us some alone time, Dewey? Go sell some cars or whatever it is that you do here.
The pegboard is incomplete, but we see a few wrenches on the table below us. After filling out the yellow column for Paul, we see that all of his wrenches are accounted for. But after filling out the red column for Gabriel, we find one is missing.
Gabriel Delgado is missing a 3/4.
And just as we suspected, all evidence points towards Gabriel. That's the final clue we find in here. So heading out of the garage, we find William Dewey standing by the door to the sales floor.
If you don't mind, we have a few questions.
We'll start by asking him how he knows Valdez.
Packards are great cars, but this doesn't look like the kind of place favored by foreign embassies. How do you know Valdez?
I don't know Valdez. The embassy bought the car. All I know is he must know a quality car when he sees one.
This, of course, is a lie, and we have evidence. But we see that this Dewey fellow is used to lying. He maintains a firm gaze, fixed right at Cole, but he does give himself away. He's shifting. He's not standing still. Something about Cole Phelps is making him nervous. And instead of casually meeting eyes with Cole Phelps, it's almost as if he's trying too hard not to appear suspicious. This isn't how normal people look when they have a conversation. This is how a man appears when he's frozen. He knows that a dog is on the hunt, and he doesn't want to give anything away.
And I know a shyster when I see one. You and Valdez are in this together.
Me and Valdez? I hardly know him. Valdez wouldn't wipe his shoes with me.
As evidence that he's lying, we can point to the confession that we got from Valdez, that he accepted a bribe from Dewey.
We've talked to Valdez. He was very obliging. He told us all about the arrangement the two of you had, and now quit wasting our time.
Okay. So I met Valdez in a bar. We cut a deal and he bought the car through the embassy. I cut him some change on the side. It happens all the time.
Oh, that's a good excuse if ever I heard one. Happens all the time. Must therefore be okay. But now we are on our guard. We know this man's a liar, and with that knowledge in mind, we can ask him about Gabriel.
Where can we find Delgado?
I don't know. He sure as hell isn't here.
Well, that's clear enough for anyone with eyes to see. But now his behavior has completely changed. When before he was stoic, moving around only slightly, now he's incredibly fidgety. Arms behind his back, shifting his weight left and right, and he just can't for the life of him keep his eyes on Cole Phelps. When before he was frozen in his tracks, like a deer in headlights hoping his lie would not be exposed, now it's as if he's got hamsters in his head, trying to spin some lie, some explanation, so that he doesn't have to reveal the whole truth. We don't have evidence that he knows where Gabriel is, but it's clear that he knows something that he's hiding from us.
Address, Dewey, or my partner shoves her head in a car door.
Okay, all right. Apartment 3, 103 Hill Street. And tell him from me, if he ever shows his face around here again, I'm going to kick his butt from here to Kingdom Come.
And we hit the jackpot. We got the address. Finally, we can ask him about the wrench.
A wrench from this dealership was used to strip the wheels from a Packard last night, Mr. Dewey. A couple of Hispanics were seen taking parts.
We've had a spate of thefts ourselves. Comes with the location. Thieving bastards to steal anything the minute your back is turned.
He's trying real hard to be chummy here, answering our question without answering our question. We don't have evidence that he knows anything about the Hispanics who took parts from the Packard, but again, his posture is not filling us with confidence. He's holding on to a big secret, trying to move as little as possible so that Cole doesn't call him on it, fixing his gaze in an uncomfortable way, which of course betrays the very fact that he has a secret. So even though we can't prove that he's lying, we can urge him to spill the beans.
What are you hiding, Dewey? Spill it. You don't want the LAPD getting too interested in this place.
So I hire a few illegals. It's cheaper than hiring returning GIs, and they have less attitude. Downside is, they're a little light-fingered.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Dewey.
No problem. God damn that kid. I'm just an honest car salesman. Seems like you just don't know who you can trust these days.
Going to movies, Dewey. You're missing your calling. Time to visit Gabriel Delgado. See how good his excuse is.
Well, we got what we needed. Gabriel's address. Heading back to the car, we can set Gabriel's address as our destination.
You read this story in the Examiner about the Navy developing three-dimensional movies?
What's a dimension?
You know, like a graph. The vertical axis is Y and horizontal is X.
Well, that's clear as mud.
Third dimension would be Z. So things would be popping out of the screen.
That's ridiculous. Scare people out of the theater. God's name would want that.
I don't know. People scoffed at the idea of talkies in color. Look what we have now.
There's something trippy listening to three-dimensional characters in a video game chat idly about how no one would want to watch 3D. But at length, we arrive at Gabriel's apartment at 2:36 p.m.
Okay, let's see what Gabriel has to say for himself.
I just hope our archangel hasn't already flown.
Heading up the stairs and through the door, we see a pile of letters in the corner. Even though we got his address from Dewey, we can confirm it by finding his address here.
Here he is, apartment 3.
Heading up the stairs all the way to the top, we find apartment 3 to the right.
Yes.
LAPD, ma'am. We're looking for Gabriel Delgado.
Gabriel?
We're from the police. Policia, you understand?
Yes, I understand. Could you come inside?
What is your name?
Ana Rodriguez.
Is Gabriel Delgado here, Ms. Rodriguez?
No. What do you want with Gabriel? Is he in trouble?
Stay where you are, Ms. Rodriguez. We need to take a look around.
But he is not here. I have told you.
Check out the surrounds. I'll stay with the broad.
Bukowski sits down with Anna, and we learn more about her personal life while we explore the apartment.
So how far along are you, Anna?
Nearly 20 weeks.
Right. So how's it going to be when you go into labor and he's not around?
You are wrong about Gabriel. He will be a good father. Already he works hard to provide for us.
Unless you help us here, Anna, your little one won't be seeing Papa for a very long time.
Souvenirs are a dumb move.
Dumb move indeed. This is all the evidence we need to tie Gabriel to the Embassy Packard. But perhaps by exploring, we can find even more. Heading out of the dining room, we see a curio with some pictures on it we can't interact with. Walking into the bedroom, we see it in a bit of disarray. On the ground, we see a notebook, but it's not pertinent to the case. Instead, we see a list of boy and girl names. Raphael is about to be a dad. What a time to pull something like this. We see a man's shirt lying on a bed, and another man's shirt draped over a box. On a nearby table, we see an amulet, which must be hers, and next to this we find, I think that's lipstick, or maybe the smoked butt of a cigar. It's hard to tell. But as we pass the nightstand, we see men's boots, more evidence that a man has recently been here. Moving into the kitchen, we see the kettle steaming on the oven, and then when we look at the kitchen table...
Serving breakfast for two, Anna? You should have cleared up.
Gabriel was here recently. As we are about to leave, we see a half-opened window and something outside. Opening the rear door to the porch, we see that we've attracted the curiosity of some of the neighbors, and then off to the right, we see a shed. Where would a man hide tools and car parts? Well, likely his shed. Heading down the stairs and into the shed, we see it littered with all sorts of parts. And lying on the ground, leaning against a nearby shelf...
It looks like Valdez gets his wheel back.
He didn't even try to hide them. And it looks like this is a regular thing for Gabriel. He wasn't just trying to get revenge against Valdez. Look at this. Cans of paint, boxes of parts, car doors, lying against a wall. Batteries, rims, an entire workshop filled with tools. And then against the far wall, we find a box filled with license plates, one of which is black.
Diplomatic license plates.
This one is on top, his most recent acquisition, but we see dozens upon dozens of other plates stacked in this box. Gabriel has been stealing parts from cars for years, and there have been dozens of victims. Heading back into the house, we have all the evidence we need to question his wife.
You're in serious trouble, Miss Rodriguez.
But Gabriel is not here. I have done nothing wrong.
Maybe, but her innocence or guilt will likely come out during our investigation. We can start by asking her about Gabriel's motive.
Why did he steal the car, Anna?
The customer insulted him. He has his honor, no?
Okay, yeah, that rings true. Valdez did indeed insult Gabriel by trying to solicit his affection for money. And I can understand why that would drive a young man to seek revenge. Anna is sitting here indignant, filled not with shame or guilt, but pride. She's proud of her man for standing up for himself, and we see it clearly by the way she holds herself. This woman is telling the truth.
His honor, Anna?
He said Dewey's friend tried to make a woman out of him. He no longer respects this man, Dewey. He took the car to show this maricon that he is a man.
Shame, though, that this entire situation caused Gabriel to lose his job. Dewey clearly didn't want to see him again, and Gabriel lost all the respect he had for Dewey. And with a baby on the way, too. Well, maybe we can help him if only we could find him.
Tell us the truth, Anna. Has Gabriel been here?
I haven't seen him for at least 3 nights.
Uh-oh. Bad move, Anna. She's lying, and we can prove it. But even if we couldn't, her facial expressions give her away. She's no longer proud and indignant. She tilts her head from left to right, stares at the ceiling, then in every other direction but where Cole is. And when she does meet his gaze, she blinks a lot. She's lying.
You keep lying to me, and I'll send you and your baby to jail.
He lives here, but he hasn't come home. I swear it.
Well, we can point to a whole lot of stuff here. The flag from the car, which was stolen yesterday and is now miraculously found on her dining room table. Or the breakfast plates, which had been set out for two. These clues prove that Raphael was here last night and this morning.
Enough, Anna. There are signs all over this place that he's been back.
He was here last night. I have never seen him so angry. He went out to his shed and put some things in it. I don't know what, and I don't want to know. I love him.
Well, despite how much she loves him, she's about to know exactly what he's been up to.
We found a license plate matching our stolen vehicle in the shed. Add in the assortment of parts, and we can make Gabriel for a dozen other thefts. It's time to get serious, Anna.
You must ask these questions of Gabriel. I know nothing of these car parts.
For a moment there, while she was delivering her lie, we could see that she was worried we'd suss her out. But then, almost as if she knew she was giving herself away, she completely changed her body posture and facial expressions. Now she's wearing false bravado, making uncomfortable and prolonged eye contact, but every now and then looking down, up, and to the side. She'll lift her chin, give her head a fake confident wobble, but it's not enough to clear our suspicion that she's lying.
Then tell us where he is. If your baby is born in prison, Anna, the corrections officers will take it from you. You will see your son or daughter through a metal grate for half an hour a week.
The start line is on 1st and Santa Fe. There is a spillway under the bridge that leads to the river. Many policia have wrecked trying to follow him.
We will put in a good word for you, Anna. As far as we're concerned, this sits with Gabriel.
Start line? That sounds like a street race to me. It's gotten out of hand this last year. No wonder Delgado has such an eye for fine automobiles.
We know where the kid is. Let's go stop these clowns and get them off the streets.
Yeah, but we don't know what kind of car he's driving, though we do recall that it was a red Ford. Maybe we can find a picture that shows us exactly what kind of Ford it is. And sure enough, on a bookshelf near to the kitchen...
Difficult to tell whether it's the suspect vehicle from the scene. Certainly Gabriel's pride and joy.
That's a Ford, and it's an older model. We can't tell from the black and white photo, but it's likely that this is red. So now we know what car to look for. We must now track Gabriel down at the street race starting line.
What kind of man leaves his pregnant girlfriend at home while he goes off to play cars?
Pregnant girlfriends aren't always a barrel of laughs. Everyone needs to let off a little steam. Some guys wouldn't come back home at all.
Are you talking from experience?
There's the red Ford. That's Delgado right there.
Quick! They're getting away!
Phelps, 1247. Requesting assistance at 1st and Santa Fe. Reports of an illegal street race.
But his racing companions are trying to push us off the road. Time and again, they crash into us, all while Delgado speeds away in his red race car.
Quick as we shut one of these races down, another one springs up somewhere else. Kids used to steal cars to sell them. Now they just want to wrap them around a lamppost. The next 16-year-old I have to peel off the sidewalk, you're calling me. I've had enough of those to last me a lifetime.
Delgado is our boy. Forget the others.
But after Gabriel takes a sharp turn, we lose the other cars. We follow him into a spillway, but this water slows us down.
Step on it, Phelps. Take him out.
Enough games, Phelps. Take this guy out.
You're gonna die, Garacho.
Eventually, Gabriel moves out of the water to avoid some garbage, and we can almost catch up, but then he gets back into it.
Lay into his wheel arches. Come on.
God damn it, Cole. Hold it steady.
At last, he leaves the river, but that jump over the train tracks destabilized his drive, and one bump is all it takes to send his front wheel spinning. But then he gets out of the car and runs.
Gabriel Delgado, you're under arrest for grand theft auto.
Fuck you, puto! You should speak to the maricon! Valdez, I showed him! Now who's the man? I should have burned his fucking car!
Yes, son, but at what cost? Now you have to go to jail, leaving your unborn child without a father.
You got a foreign dignitary outed as a fruit and a kitty raper, a car dealer we're gonna let slide for the kickbacks, and a street punk car thief who sure as hell won't be taking liberties with other people's autos again anytime soon. That, Detective Phelps, is not a bad haul. You keep your chin low and your hands high, and you keep bringing me clearances just like that one. That's textbook policing, and we need more of it in this department.
Part of me can sympathize with Gabriel. He's a young man, and he was deeply insulted by Valdez. Young men make rash decisions when such things happen. But the evidence in his shed proves that it wasn't just this one time. In a short period of time, he has made a career out of stealing parts from cars and then selling them for profit. Is it better to put a young father away for these crimes, even if it means his child won't grow up with a father? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm slowly working through LA Noire, but never fear, together we will go through each case, put criminals behind bars, all while testing Cole Phelps's integrity. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I have a shirt shop with a bunch of unique designs you can't find anywhere else. My shirts come in a variety of both men's and women's sizes and in a wide array of colors. You can find my designs on other products as well, smartphone cases, mugs, posters, pillows, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon this week with a brand new video.